Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We will soon start our second panel session, the first in the afternoon. I would like to call the panelists up here to the floor. Yeah, please here have a seat. I have seen before Angelica Fernandez already. Here. Then we have Mr. Edward Samorivo. Mr. Trevor Thompson. Take a seat here. And Mr. Apollinaire Nyanvi from Benin. He doesn't seem to be here. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we will talk this afternoon in this session about the experiences of five, maybe only four, countries in implementing national drought plans, which have been steered and supported by the UNCCD. We will hear how it has happened in the countries, so what are their experiences, trying to derive some lessons learned from it, how it can go on, how is the stage of implementation in these countries, but also what can UNCCD and what can the process learn about, what should be next steps. Do we need another round of plans? Shall there be something like strategies or even policies, the target? All on that we will talk today. At the end of the session, we will have 10 to 15 minutes for the presentation, the launch of 4 books. That will be done also by UNCCD. So we have a very full session. We will start with some observations by the UNCCD, which has launched and monitored and accompanied the process. There will be some general observations, which will then be filled up and filled with life by the lessons from the individual countries, which are here on the podium. I will introduce the panelists one by one. I think then it's easier for you to recall. We start now with Camilla Nordheim from UNCCD, who will present these general lessons learned from the drought plan discussions. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. I will be very brief because the real information is here on stage. Just to give you a little recap of the drought initiative, as you know, COP13 mandated the Secretariat and the global mechanism to implement a drought initiative in the biennium. It has several components, providing policy guidance to parties, developing a toolbox on drought, and most importantly, to support countries in national drought planning. We had committed to support 30 countries. We have now supported 72 countries, so we're very happy about that. And as you will hear from colleagues here, we have a lot of experience now coming out of this process. And I just wanted to highlight a few kind of lessons learned that we have seen when we've started to analyze the plans that we have received. We have to date 40 validated national drought plans, and 32 countries are in the process of doing so. Although these 70 countries, they are very diverse, geographically, politically, economically, but there are some key common features that we've seen when it comes to drought risk management. One of the areas that we see across most of the countries is that there's a lack of robust intersectoral and interministerial coordination mechanism in most countries. There's drought management components in some countries in different agencies and different ministries, but the coordination is not always optimal. many countries have early warning systems, response systems in place, but they're often managed by different agencies and different ministries. Existing strategies and systems are still very often focused on crisis management, so what to do when the drought is there, is happening, rather than a proactive and risk management approach to drought. And when we've looked through these different national drought plans, we can see that most countries are highlighting the importance of preparedness. However, we find that it's very few concrete actions already in place when it comes to taking more proactive responses to drought risk management. And finally, across the countries, we often see there's a lack of a communication plan or communication protocol. So how to communicate effectively between the different actors before a drought happens, during a drought event, and after a drought event. So this is in a nutshell what we've seen from these, I must say, very impressive drought plans. We have supported the countries in a very short period, but I must say personally very impressed with what the countries have been able to come up with. And I think this is a momentum in the convention at this stage, that we have so many countries engaging in drought planning, and I think that we have a really good basis now for moving into implementation. So we will hear from our colleagues more details. Thank you very much.
We will fill now up these general impressions and lessons with the experiences of the countries themselves. And we start with Azerbaijan. We have Mrs. Malak Shukurova with us, who works as the director of the Regional Environmental Center for the Caucasus. She has already assumed, like all the others, many functions before. I don't want, for the sake of time, I will not repeat all of them. You can be assured that all of these panelists are not only active in the administrations, they have experiences in project, in program implementation, some in research and so on. But they are here now in their function as the, I don't know, focal points sometimes for the implementation of these drought plans. That is their function now. So, Mrs. Malak, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I thank also Secretariat for the brief summary presented. But, it's not working. Just a second. I hope that it's working. Okay. Thank you, and thank you for the Secretariat for the draft, for the summary presented. We are one of those countries which have been tasked, and we were lucky to implement this task. And also the big thanks goes to the team of the WMO. In Azerbaijan, we start this task, and at this time we are in the phase of the validation within the country. But I have to state that it takes a little bit more time than it was expected. Azerbaijan is located in an arid zone, and often it's faced with the water scarcity problems. And as in other countries, climate change also leads to significant reduction of our water resources and also strengthen the existing related problems. The natural resources of the country are under the threat of the increasing climate change, water shortage, and frequency of extreme weather events such as dry spells and droughts. The water resources of Azerbaijan are limited, and in comparison with other countries of the South Caucasus, region, it's only 50% of the all water resources of the region. So you can understand that it's also, from the water supply point, is considered one of the driest region of the world. And the impact of frequency and spread of droughts in Azerbaijan have intensified in the past decade, and recent droughts in 2000-2014 crop growing season caused severe food shortages. Droughts has been increased in the last 10 years by 10%. And here you see the 6 types of droughts which we identified on the territory of the territory of Azerbaijan based on the study which we conducted within this task. And so we worked in the different dimensions, and the different assessment has been done, especially the assessment of the droughts in Azerbaijan and their impact on agricultural production and flow of rivers by using of the SPI index. Again, just the figures here, as you see that the damage to the farm is estimated about 1 million, and the productivity dropped to 5.2 centons per hectare. And of course, this comes out with the diminishing of the water's availability in the rivers as well. We make the assessment of the droughts by using of the PED methods, combining the SPI methods and pediatric methods. And so the droughts index has been somewhat intensified by adding the condition that the rainfall is lower than 80% when applying the method proposed by PED. And based on the assessment on the severity of droughts for agriculture and vegetation period, we find out that the severity of the droughts for agriculture in vegetation period in the region has been estimated based on the data for the last 10 years is also do not bring the very good picture for the farmers and the common condition for the communities. So all these data, again, bring to the fact that we have to elaborate the national drought policy, the national drought plan, which is actually not available. And the main idea of this is to create efficient drought-resilient society, which would make it mandatory to provide safety nets, such as insurance for those who have the negative impact, and financial assistance. And the National Droughts Plan, as you see, is intended to implement in the following 3 key pillars. The drought indicators also have been elaborated by the different task groups which has been established within this task. And I have to mention here there's 2 sub-systems of the indicators which we were focusing on, but the main indicator which we would like to bring on the up, it's a socioeconomic drought based on the socioeconomic impact assessment. And of course, the drought management plan is aligned with the goals and priorities set out in Sendai framework for DRR. Azerbaijan is still in the process also to update the DRR strategy for the country. And if we'll go back, you see that the 7 goals which has been actually deducted out of 10, merged with the 10. And as mentioned, there is a need to create the drought management plan, which we did actually. And out of this, there was a high necessity for elaboration of the drought management body to coordinate related organizations to fulfill pillars of drought management. And particularly, we proposed to establish National Disaster Preparedness and Relief Committee, National Disaster Preparedness and Technical Committee, and as well as Drought Task Force. So with the main also focus on preparation, mitigation, and response, and monitor and risk assessment. This draft papers has been submitted to the governmental administration, to the Cabinet of Ministers. Currently, it's going through the procedures within the government, and but then we realized that the main impact also goes to the communities, to the farmers, and this has to be also goes through with the public hearing, not only in the capital, but also in the local authorities, involving the local communities, involving the farmers. And upon its adoption, the drought administrator can then effectively manage water demand during a drought-related shortage, which the goal is to achieve the greatest customer benefit from limited supply of water needed for domestic water use, sanitation, and fire protection, and of allocate water for other purposes in an equitable manner. And the last, the drought management requires attaching high priority to sustainable water management and taking steps forward to mitigating and addressing the issues of water insecurity and droughts. Meanwhile, drought requires highest attention not only on the national level and on an international level, and therefore Azerbaijan do welcome and sees the necessity of the establishment of the intergovernmental working groups on the droughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. As next speaker, we will have Angelica Fernandez Garcia from Colombia. She is a consultant with the Institute of Hydrology, Meteorology, and Environmental Studies, IDEAM, and she's also active in the UNCCD as a CST.
Thank you very much. I don't know, I prefer to do this way my presentation. I don't know if it's possible to see it and make my presentation, or... Okay. Okay, no worries. Thank you very much. I'm working right now for the Environmental Institute. It's IDEAM. It's an hydrologic, meteorologic, and environmental institute. We working together with the environmental ministry too, so we always work together. So in 2018, the Global Mechanism, the UNCCD, called us to make one of the first national strategy of land management in Colombia. For us, it's very, very important because we have already some plans, some programs, but they are related with a lot of risk, not only drought, but related with different kinds of risks that we have in Colombia. So this one is very important for us because it's only dedicated related by drought. So we developed this national strategy, and we do it with in the partnership with all the entities in Colombia at national level of the ministries of agriculture, of environment, and also the foreign ministry in Colombia. Also, we work with a lot of entities, environmental institutes that we have in Colombia related with agriculture and soils, and with water institutes also. And one of these institutes is very important because they work related with all the risk that we have in Colombia, all the risk related with flows, with all the hazards what we have in Colombia. So they, leadership with the environmental ministry with us, this strategic, so that's very important for us. Well, I don't know if you know Colombia. Colombia is in South America. We have two seas. We have the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. So we have many kinds of landscapes and ecosystems in Colombia. We have a lot of weathers. And we also have, we developed the baseline in erosion in 2015. That's very important for us because they make us like a photograph of Colombia, an actual photograph that what we are doing about this degradation, no? How we are doing right now, so that's very important. I want to show you maybe, I don't know, yes. Well, it's not served so much. Okay. Well, as you can see up the north is the Caribbean region. That's very important because it's one of the most affected areas in Colombia. We have a lot of soil degradation by erosion there because they have a lot extreme droughts also too. In the south, you can find Amazonian region, so it's very different, this weather. So we have also some kind of degradation, but it's less because it's more weather than the other places. In the central of Colombia, it's most of the 15% of the people, 5% of the people lives in this area. You can find there 3 cordilleras, 3 really high mountains, so we have a lot of different climates there. And we also have a lot of degradation related by crops and, well, not sustainable uses, not only, of course, crops, it's only not sustainable uses. And we also have the Pacific region and the Euronican region. So we try to select a few areas in Colombia, and we precise the Caribbean region. That's one of the most problematics there. You can find a lot of problems there, land degradation and drought also. And we also have the baseline in salinization. That's another issue that is really related with water issues that we have here. So these 2 maps can highlight the strategic for us, so we can see where we have the problems. So when we have this, IDEAM and of course with the Environmental Ministry, we developed 3 protocols. So I want to share with you. If you want, I can give it to you. Unfortunately, it's only in Spanish, but we can do something. We have 3 protocols: by erosion, salinization, and desertification. Desertification, this year, we are going to update this protocol. So we want to share with you also. So these protocols help us very much to identify this big problem. Also in Colombia, we have so many plans and projects related with water scarcity and another kind of policies. I will show you. These policies that you see here, there are also plans and projects, are related with drought also and water. So we say in Colombia, wait, we don't need another policy because we have so many, but we need a strategy that can involve all the parties, at national and local level. Because sometimes we always have these national policies, but at national level. Sometimes the local people don't understand, or maybe they don't use it. So we say, no, okay, we have to involve these local people. So we prefer to make a strategy. And this is one. This is the strategy. It's only in Spanish right now, but we are talking to translate in English, so I can share with you. Okay, the mean of this strategic, the goal that we want to enhance is advance in integral management drought in Colombia with all the factors, not only meteorological drought, also ecosystem and biodiversity. It's the impacts that are related with the ecosystem and biodiversity, and of course related with land degradation. And we want to make an interinstitutional articulation because all the entities works by their side, but we want to make a very high articulation to make this goal, yes. And we want to strengthen measures for the monitor. IDEAM has 2,000 alert systems in Colombia, but it's very difficult for us because we have so many landscapes, so it's not so easy sometimes to predict the drought. So we have to improve this area. We want to mitigate the effects of drought in Colombia also. So we have many kind of, and is what I told you is the same. We want to create a technical advisory board of DROUGHT to integrate all the entities at local and national level. And we want to promote the development of plans and initiatives and projects by local way. So this one is one of MAP in Colombia. We have also the index in a standardized drought index that many countries has the same index. This is really helpful because we can see where is the drought, and sometimes it's helpful when you can maybe predict where can be the next drought in Colombia. So it's very helpful. And it also is, we have 4 lines in the strategic, that very important lines. They are the mean of the strategic, and we try to work like this way. So also we try that this strategic is aligned with the LDN targets also too. We have 7 LDN targets,